It's the Charlene Mitchell Show. Mind your business. Here's the Emmy Award-winning host right now.
Hello, everyone. I'm Charlene Mitchell, and this is the Charlene Mitchell Show. And today we are back at the Brandon Bell Agency, Insurance Agency, located in Southfield, Michigan. I'm here with Brandon Bell. And in our last two episodes, we talked about life insurance, homeowners insurance, the dreaded auto insurance, and the price of it all. But one of the things that we did not talk about is renters insurance. Because in Detroit area and across the country, of course, there are a lot of transient people, young people, don't normally buy a house as soon as they get out of school and start working. They rent, but they still have belongings. Usually a lot of them have, computers and technical kind of stuff, and they got their clothing. Why should an apartment dweller or a person renting a home have renter's insurance?
To protect those items that you said, right? So you want to protect all your the belongings that you do have. You might be surprised the value that they have, but also really you don't know what someone else may be doing, right? So let's say we're in an apartment complex and my next door neighbor, and I know not a lot of people smoke these days, but they smoke, they fall, they set the place on fire. There's an exposure of 5, 10, 15, however many other people are in your building that could affect you from their behavior. So you want to make sure your stuff is protected.
Or if your upstairs neighbor goes to sleep while the bathtub is being filled,
and
or
all
the
that
shower is
comes
on
down.
and the bathroom, and it comes down through the ceiling, and you're not home, and you get home and everything's wet.
Exactly, right? So that's a fantastic
So who's
example.
responsible?
So it's twofold. So what your apartment complex will say is, well, you should have renter's insurance to cover your personal items. The other cool part about the renter's insurance is, let's say you were that person, right? Your apartment complex may come after you because you damaged their building.
Okay, but if I'm not the person that caused it, I'm the person that got the collateral damage from the smoker or from the person whose water, came down in my apartment. Then who's...
Your insurance will cover it.
Okay.
You will file a claim on your insurance.
But if I caused it,
if you caused the damage, then your insurance will cover your stuff, and then the liability portion of your insurance will then cause the damage to the actual apartment building. What happens is, and I think what you're getting at is, would that person that caused it be responsible for replacing your items? Right. And what ends up happening is you should have your insurance, that person has their insurance, and you let the insurance companies figure that out.
or what if that person doesn't have any insurance?
Well, if that person doesn't have any insurance, you can sue that individual and go through the court process for that because they're deemed liable. And then their insurance may, if there's enough, pick up and take care of your stuff. But in all reality, most of the insurance is probably going to be used to repair the building, and you're going to be left with nothing. That's why you should have your own.
Do you know if many apartment building owners, like the bigger apartment complexes, do any of them require their tenants to have renter's insurance?
They do. It's very, very common nowadays. And not only, it's almost like purchasing a home nowadays. They want you to have renter's insurance, and they want their complex or the owner listed on that policy as well. So if something happens, they can make sure their stuff is taken care of.
I know back when I was much younger and just out of school and had lived in apartments, I never had renter's insurance.
Right. Yeah.
I never really thought about it, and nobody ever explained it to me.
Right.
It's like, well, you don't own this apartment, so you don't, whoever owns the building has the insurance. And I didn't think about,
Exactly. Protecting your own things.
fortunately, nothing ever happened.
Right.
But I would do you advise people, especially the younger people who have, and then older people who may sell their home and now they don't want to own a home anymore.
Exactly.
They want to rent.
Yep. Especially the later group that you named, because those people typically just have more expensive things. You accumulated things over your lifetime.
Yes.
You should for sure have renter's insurance. But I encourage the younger ones too as well. Even if your apartment complex or wherever you're renting doesn't require it, you really should still have the coverage to protect yourself. And renter's insurance is really affordable.
Okay, typically, how much would you do? It wouldn't be like homeowners.
No. Because renter's insurance, we're only talking about your contents. So
Okay.
a younger person, I feel like and this really is a conversation that we'll have, but we'll start around 20,000, right,
Okay.
of items or of coverage for your personal items. It's kind of the starting place. I've seen people say I don't
How much a
have that
month?
much.
How much a month? That's all I care about.
Yeah, 20,000 literally might be $20 to $30 a month.
Okay,
And
that's really worth it.
it's really worth it. And typically
Yes.
bundled with your auto insurance, which is what we encourage, it provides a discount. So the discount that it provides on the auto insurance really reduces the expense if it doesn't cover it itself.
So speaking of bundles, whether it's homeowners, auto, or renters, you can bundle all of that.
You sure can.
About what do you save percentage-wise when you bundle?
About anywhere between 10 and 15%.
That's
typically.
significant.
Right. If you're
That's
paying
really good.
$200 a month on your car insurance, that 10% is $20. So it now makes that renter's insurance an extra $10 a month.
Let's talk about the Brandon Bell Agency,
Yes.
okay? Because you are teaching me as I'm sitting here. I'm learning so much stuff that I really should have known already. Some of it I did, but not completely. So every time I speak with you, I learn a little bit more, and that's why we're doing this, to teach the public.
Right.
What's your background? How did you get into this?
So I am all insurance background. Believe it or not, it's the only professional job I've had post-college. And I had a mentor who brought me into the business, which I'm big on mentorship. His name was John Cash, and he owned a State Farm insurance agency. And he took me under his wing, and I worked for him for 3 years. And he taught
I
me
know
everything.
John Cash and his wife.
Yes.
And he
Mr.
still
Mrs.
has a
Cash.
State Farm.
He
Yes.
sure does, yep. So he's the one that kind of brought me into the business. He taught me everything. I worked for him, learned from him, still learn from him today. But that's how I got into the industry. It was almost by chance.
So you worked with John Cash at his State Farm agency.
Correct.
Then didn't you get your own?
I did. Yep,
State Farm agency?
I sure did. I had the opportunity to open up my own State Farm agency, which was like 2 miles down the road from John. We had a lot of success at John's office, opened up my own office down the road from
Were you
him.
competing with him? The man that taught you everything?
To be honest, there wasn't a competition because John had, truth be told, John had established roots in the neighborhood, right? So
Okay.
what it looked like was he was the guy that was there and to mentor me. So most of the neighborhood will go to John. But the beauty about insurance is I can kind of sell insurance everywhere. So during that time period, I was really trying to develop my own relationships and build outside of that. But
Right.
it really wasn't.
There's enough for everybody.
There's enough for everybody. There's plenty of clients for
But
everybody.
then you became a broker.
Yes.
Why did you decide just working as a State Farm agent wasn't really what you wanted? You wanted to spread out.
Because it gave me more opportunities to help individuals. We kind of hit on it in our last conversation, but having multiple options just give me more tools in my tool belt to help more people. Everyone's situation doesn't look the same, and so I realized I was turning away a lot of business. Put simply, I'm turning away a lot of people I can't help, a lot of people, and so having more options just allows me to help more people.
What is the most gratifying part about what you do, especially when you're able to, if there's a claim and the homeowner or the renter or the car owner is pleased with the outcome? Because we're not always pleased with the outcome.
And that is it, to be honest, is to be there for the client when something happens. That's probably the best part. In addition to that, we have a lot of, our rates are so expensive here in Michigan. One of the really rewarding parts is bringing someone who's on the fringe of either losing that insurance because of affordability or someone who just assumed that they couldn't afford it and kind of bringing them into the insurance ethos and getting back on their feet and making sure they have coverage. And then if something happens, that peace of mind of knowing that they're covered, that's really gratifying to me.
So is there a separate kind of insurance, for example, low-income people who just, as much as they want the full coverage or whatever you want to call it, but they can't afford it. Their income just does not allow them to get the insurance that they want. Is there another level of insurance so that they're not just left out there with nothing?
So yes, there is in a way, and what it is insurance can be built in an a la carte type of way. And so what we do is we'll just start off with the foundational pieces that we want to make sure, one, that if it is regulated we at least have those pieces. And then we just evaluate all of the add-ons to insurance, which ones kind of are our priority and what can we afford with the budget. And as time goes on, once budget changes, once you've been in the insurance space for a little while, rates get a little better, then we will add coverage as appropriate.
What do you sell most of?
Our number one selling is obviously auto insurance. That would be what most people come into the agency looking for. It's the biggest driving factor because you have to have it to be on the road. So it's the requirement. So that would be our leader. Would be the
Okay.
auto coupled with the homeowners. I would say would be the number one one. And auto is commercial auto as well, but auto
Okay.
in general is our number one.
It always comes back to that auto
always
insurance.
comes back
We're
to
going to
that.
take a quick break, come right back and wrap up. So don't go away.
Brandon Bell Insurance Agency has what you need. Black-owned, local, and independently operated, they offer personalized options for your home, auto, life, and business insurance needs. Bundle and save by going to BrandonBellAgency.com or call 313-533-7400 and experience firsthand the expertise of Brandon Bell Insurance Agency. The number again, 313-533-7400.
The compassionate professionals at Kemp Funeral Home have helped thousands of families through the grieving process and funeral planning for their loved ones.
Hello, I'm Stephen Kemp Sr.
I'm Stephen Kemp II.
And I'm Jackie Lewis Kemp.
We customize our services to all cultures, nationalities, and ethnic groups.
Including your family's special requests.
We're always here for you.
Call 248-702-KEMP. That's 248-702-5367. And we're back here at the Brandon Bell Insurance Agency in Southfield, Michigan. I'm talking with Brandon Bell, the owner. He's a broker who can sell you just about any kind of health insurance, not health insurance, any insurance except health insurance. We got auto, we got home, we got renters, we have business insurance, life insurance. How do you develop relationships with your clients who may sometimes come in and they know they need insurance, but they also need to be schooled on what they need? And how do you develop that trust?
Yeah, so first to me is building, like having a conversation, right? So I treat everyone as if they are my family, and I try to give
Okay.
you the advice that I would give to my family. I consider all the factors, right? I consider what do you actually have to cover, meaning I don't want you overinsured. I'm not going to try to push you to have things that you don't need, right? Because I want it to be there when you actually need it. I want to make sure it's affordable, something that fits within your budget, because I always talk about the right now and then the future. So I try to build out a plan if we aren't there yet to cover everything, right? And then we kind of prioritize what are the immediates, what are the emergency things, and then how do we build out this thing in the future, right? And then through that conversation, usually it builds trust. Right, I was always taught people buy from someone that they know, like, and trust. That's kind of the three things that we hit on. And so my job is to have you trust me with transparency from a pricing standpoint, from a coverage standpoint, from a needs standpoint.
Where do you get most of your clients? Is it word of mouth?
Yeah, so I mean, we have an online
Referrals?
presence, but referrals are huge, right? So after I help someone and I kind of give them that white glove treatment and they trust me, they usually send their friends to us, and that's kind of how we've grown.
And you have a staff. What training do they need for somebody to be employed by Brandon Bell Agency?
Yep. So we, outside of being licensed, which is state regulated, right? So you have to go to a class, you have to get your license to be approved to even sell insurance products. Each carrier or the companies, they have their own individual training. So we get you trained up with each carrier, their processes, their products, their procedures that's necessary. And then we have our own internal training, like standard operating procedures and how do we do business here, right? Outside of what the companies expect. How are we? What is our identity? How do we treat individuals? How do we talk to individuals? How do we consult and what's priority to us and our clientele?
Now, how many different carriers do you represent?
Well, I represent over 15 different carriers, and they vary, right? So not
Can
all.
you name some?
Yeah, so the Hartford, Liberty Mutual, Safeco, State Auto, Progressive, like it goes, all the big guys, Nationwide.
Liberty.
Right.
I know those commercials that run constantly. So auto insurance companies do a lot of advertising. I don't see health insurance companies advertising that much. You see life insurance, auto insurance. Why?
That's a good
Why
question.
don't you see some other types of insurance? Maybe because they don't need to advertise?
The biggest one that I think that don't do as much advertising that should would have been that business insurance that we kind of hit on in a place. You really don't see too many business insurance advertisements. I think you see like the auto insurance because it's so competitive, right? The health insurance is not as competitive, but you have some big players in
And then
it.
most people don't own a business.
And most people don't own a business.
You have more
very true.
employers
Right.
or employees
Correct.
than you do entrepreneurs.
Yes, but
And the
even
big-
small businesses need something too. But
Yeah, and small businesses can really get burned when they
Yes.
are not covered. And a lot of times, entrepreneur will open a small business, and they'll be doing it with just barely enough money to start the
Correct.
business, but they're lacking so many things that they
correct.
need,
Yep.
and that's why so many go out of business.
You're absolutely right. But to come back to answer your question, it's the competitive nature of it. It's just more competitive in those spaces. The auto insurance, everyone's competing because you have to have it. The pool is a lot bigger, so everyone's kind of jockeying for a position in the auto insurance space, the home insurance space. So you see a lot more advertisements in that space because the competitive nature of it.
Now, how long have you been in the business?
10 years now.
That's counting when you were State Farm agent,
Correct, yep.
all the way up to now. And so what has been the biggest surprise, if any, to you, or something that maybe you were not expecting that you learned over the 10 years?
Yeah, believe it or not, it's the biggest surprise is how little individuals know about insurance because everyone has to have it, meaning auto insurance specifically. So it's something that everyone has to have. And a lot of people have purchased at least one time, whether you maintain it or not, you've purchased it one time, but still how little information people have regarding auto insurance and the requirements for the auto insurance. And then really, I guess, for lack of a better word, to say the respect for it, meaning like so many people feel as though it's something that isn't really needed. So those are kind of surprising.
Until you get in an accident.
Until you need it, right?
Yeah.
It's the thing that you don't need until you do, right?
Or somebody takes your vehicle.
Exactly. Someone takes your vehicle, you're in an accident, you're injured, your home burns down, your business is robbed, like any of those things, you don't really need it or you don't feel it. But when you do have it, that peace of mind is priceless.
I would think that when a person comes in and they want to discuss insurance, do you have like seminars or anything, or like a movie or video you can show people, or do you just sit there and talk?
I usually sit there and talk, to be honest. But I do have like digital type communication that I can have with individuals. That
Like if this happens, different scenarios,
Mm-hmm.
this is what could happen to you if you don't have insurance.
Yeah, so that's usually a conversation, right? So I'll play out some scenarios. I kind of stay away from the if then this, like almost the fear tactics, but I will paint some bigger pictures as to why you may need it if I get pushback.
Sometimes a fear tactic, I might take that as being, you're pushing me to spend money that I don't want to spend.
Absolutely, and I don't want to do that, and I think that comes back to
There's
that
a
trust.
fine line.
There's a very fine line,
Yeah,
and I need you to trust me, right? I'm not trying to twist your arm. I'm here to have a transparent conversation about what do you really need and what can you really afford, right?
Alrighty
Because a
then.
lot of times people don't ever have that conversation.
How do they contact you?
Yep, they give me a call, 313-533-7400 is our phone number, or they can visit us at brandonvilleagency.com.
And you're located where?
We are in Southfield, the big Mike Morris building right there on the corner of Northwestern and Evergreen.
And you're on the 4th floor.
Yep, yes,
Okay.
410.
And you have this beautiful office. You have a
Yes.
great staff.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you because you are so well informed.
Oh, thank you.
And to me, that's very important, because if I'm going to deal with a professional, I want that professional to know more about the subject than I know,
Yes.
so that you can teach me
Yep,
and you can teach
absolutely.
others.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on
Thank
all
you.
the success that you've been having over the past 10 years. And hopefully, if you don't have insurance, call Brandon Bell Insurance Agency. Again, that number.
It's 313-533-7400.
All right. And we'll see you again next time.
Okay, great.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Thank you.
And that's it for today. Please join us again on The Charlene Mitchell Show. You can find us on YouTube.